Hello. Then file open this and can give you file. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Good morning. Uh, Last class we discussed about that was yesterday's class. Yesterday's class we discussed about various aspects of that was block 3. Block 3 we discussed unit 7 and 8. In that we discussed a lot about functions and tasks of a PR manager. We also discussed about the skills required by a PR manager. We also discussed about the roles played by a PR manager and what are the different corporate publications that we come across to carry out our PR works. And now we have entered block 4, where we'll discuss about in-house and PR agencies. So as you know, the very meaning of in-house itself tells us that in any organization, there is an in-house PR department. So big organizations, particularly corporate or even government, state government, central government, very big NGOs also, or public sector or private sector organizations, corporate sector, all these people do have what is known as an in-house PR department. So PR is an eternal 24/7 affair in terms of getting in touch with the public outside, and all of you, we already discussed about what we mean by public. When we say public, it can be internal or external public. Sometimes we also adopt an integrated approach of internal and external. So if you take, for instance, very large companies do have their PR department. BSNL has a PR department. NTPC has a PR department. L&T Metro has a PR department. So you can name any, any example. South Central Railway has a PRO. They have a chief public relations officer also, who is the head of the PR department. So any in-house organization, any organization which has a PR department exclusively, will have a greater advantage of being, in touch with the public. So the in-house PR department, and what are the functions that they normally perform? Any PR department, what do they do actually? Is obviously they have to disseminate all the information that can be given to the public on behalf of the organization. It can be either to the internal public, to the employees, okay, or to the external public. External public could be anybody outside the organization, outside the gates of the organization. Inside the gates, they are internal public. And the PR department, what it does is it interprets public opinion to the management. So the management is not really in touch with that, or perhaps they're not experienced, they're not well versed with the way public thinks, with the way public interprets. And that's where actually a PR manager gets into the picture. The PR department does its own research in terms of using so many tools. It could be political, it could be, then it's able to keep the management informed of so many things like political, or what are the things that are happening, what are the trends that are taking place, so that political, it can be social, it can be economical, so that they feed the management with the right information of what exactly is in the mind of the public. Accordingly, the organization can perhaps change its tune, on how to go about, and for that, this PR department helps a lot. And it also helps in conducting public opinion research. And suppose some of your organization is bringing up with some program, it can be, say, let us say, corporate social responsibility. You have implemented some program within the 5-kilometer radius of your organization. Then the PR department will be able to assess the impact, whether you're really, your policy, your CSR responsibility is really being enjoyed for the purpose for which it was meant. And so the PR department will advise the management better to spend this money here, better to spend the money there. So it is able to advise that, because on the basis of the research it conducts, it gets feedback from the public, and accordingly it goes ahead with the with what we call it as the research-oriented approaches towards an issue. So this is one of the important things, one of the important functions of a PR department. And it also helps, it informs the public also about the objectives, about the programs of the organization, and what are the services that are being taken up for the benefit of its customers, direct customers or even indirect customers also. And it is also able to identify if there is any criticism, adverse criticism in how the organization is going about. And it's also able to gauge the behavior of the employees. So when it comes to internal public, and then it's on how newspapers are projecting the organization. So it is able to really exactly assess how the criticism is going on against the organization. In the event of that, the PR department steps in, swings into action, and then it immediately maybe releases a press release or gets or puts it in its blog or Facebook or Twitter. Then it issues clarifications, some misunderstanding on the part of the public, outside or internal. Then it gives rejoinders. Then it is able to damage control. It is able to control the damage of the reputation, without any, So if there is any criticism appearing without any basis, without any no rhyme, no reason, but somebody may be quite possible your competitor might be doing some bad work. So in that time, the PR department steps in and then sets right the record on behalf of the organization. So it also helps in training the people of the PR department, how the PR department employees should behave, it trains them on what is etiquette, what is code of etiquette for the employees of the corporation. So it tells them how we should be on behalf of the company, what is our policy, what is the philosophy, what is our mission, what is our goal, what is our objectives. All these things can be inculcated during the training given to the PR department for the employees. This is one of the important areas where we can think about that. It can also, it can also launch employee communication program. PR department can get in touch with expert faculty from outside, and maybe it's able to coordinate pretty well in arranging some training program, not necessarily for their own department, but even for other departments. They can coordinate with the outside experts or maybe faculty, outside or inside it. They can organize a seminar, a discussion, panel discussion. So they can do, and so these are all what you know as the functions of the PR department. So in order to motivate the employees, many organizations do have open house. I have seen, for instance, ECIL having an open house. What is open house? Is something where the employees get a chance to make their family members or maybe friends or someone or outside public can get into the organization, can see what's really happening, and then this will help the public to know, because otherwise the public thinks something is happening inside the locked gates. So ECIL, for instance, manufactures EVM machines. The public always have a doubt about EVM machines. When a political party wins elections, and there's the opposite party, so the defeated guy says something wrong with EVM, but the same guy, when he wins, he doesn't find fault with the EVMs. So the public are always sandwiched between these two schools of thought. So they always entertain some suspicion. Maybe an open house in ECIL can help them go and visit the organization where EVMs are manufactured. They can get some of the doubts which have been, bothering them. They can get them cleared, and that really helps them. And the PR department does play an important role here. It has mainly two functions. It can think about what you call it as, it can publicize the development programs on behalf of the organization or government, for instance. So many times the Telangana government also publicizes a lot on many of its constructive programs that it does through media, and at that time it takes the help of its department. The government also has its own Department of Information Public Relations, and they're in a position to, plan all these things. So all these things come under what is known as the or are the key functions. The government is every day criticized, 365 days, 24/7, they're always criticized, and the PR department immediately swings into action and tries to clarify as many remarks or counter as many remarks as possible. This is how it happens in case of the public relations in-house department, in-house PR department. But there is always what is known as a set procedure, whether one PR manager is there or he goes away, whatever is there, one system is left behind. Every PR department has a manual. It has a manual which very clearly lays down certain policies. So it has the manual gives a kind of a Lakshman Rekha so that the PR officers, PR manager operate within this framework. They don't take law into their hands, or they don't take their own, according to their own whim and fancies, howsoever good he may be in public relations, the PR manager or the PR staff have what is known as a manual, and whenever they have anything, any doubt, or they do refer the manual, and they don't normally go beyond the manual. And all of you know that manual is prepared with a great homework, a lot of research. Many people are involved in that, the top management, the middle management, everyone is involved in preparing the manual of the public relations department. So PR manual is one of the very important publication. It's like a book for them, it's like a Bible for them, where it has its own PR policies. It has a structure. This is how we have to approach, and this is how we have to do. So they have clear cut who's supposed to do what duty, delegation of duties, delegation of responsibilities, right from the PR manager to the last assistant, maybe the desktop operator who does this graphic design programs and all that. So there is a lot of scope for the PR department to grow, but within the framework of a PR manual. PR manual is very, very important. It provides guidance in implementing some of the PR programs so that you are not deviating from anything against the policies or anything of that sort. So this is one of the important areas where we can think about what is known as PR manual. So it also helps about the how much budget is there, because sometimes what happens, PR people may have many ideas, many innovative ideas, but if that's going to cost money, they have to be very careful. They have to take care of the money and other aspects also, and the financial and administrative powers of the PR personnel. All these things are laid down in for instance, PR manual.
ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం సార్ ఇక తెలుగు నేను బాగా సార్ వచ్చింది కోర్సు లైవ్ ఇచ్చిన ఇప్పుడు దాకా వచ్చింది చెప్పండి.
So we have this thing where, for instance, there is a suppose GM of Public Relations Department, and there is one DGM, AGM, and then you have things. So very clearly, the financial powers, the administrative powers are laid down in the manual, so they'll operate within the framework of all these things. This is how it happens. So the manual also tells very clearly about the details. So everything is taken care of that. It defines how the internal communication should take place. It describes what exactly we mean by external communication. It also tells about marketing communication, how you have to do it. And the manual clearly tells how we have to deal with the media, because media is very carefully handled affair, or because media can make or mar the public image of the organization. So it's very, very important for us. The media takes care of, so how to handle the media relations is a very, very important task. And many a time PR people do consult the manual because they don't want to rub on the wrong side with the media. So sometimes also, suppose in some areas where you don't have the expertise within your department, in-house PR department, you will also be in a position to appoint a consultant. So that will tell us the rules of appointing consultant, in what scenario you will appoint a consultant, in what situation you will appoint a consultant, an outside consultant, and all those things. So please remember that similarly, when you want to have an information, feedback information, there is a system for which you have to take. You can't go at random and ask someone for feedback information. There is a specific procedure, maybe a feedback questionnaire, maybe an online, you can ask people to give, maybe you can conduct a survey and all those things. So there are advantages and disadvantages of in-house uh, in-house department. Many of the advantages are there. There are some disadvantages also. So sometimes what happens, some organizations are very clever. They have a very good, very good, method of, sometimes going in a hybrid way that is both in-house as well as external where necessary. So advantages. What are the advantages of PR department? One of the important things is that PR department is a part of the organization. So you don't feel that PR people are outside fellows, and so you don't feel that you don't feel that there's something happening outside and as if something else is going on. So you don't have to worry about that particular thing. So it inculcates better communication between the departments, between the departments inside the organization and outside the organization, maybe with public, maybe with government, maybe with media. Outside also you have so many people, stakeholders, shareholders, customers, end users, clients, all these people are there like you have. So this has an advantage. The human resource people, finance people, the production people, all these people are happy because it is an in-house department. So they may not be really that if you have an outside agency, they may not be so comfortable, quite possible. This is one of the advantages. So please remember that this is one important area is that it enjoys permanency. There's a job security for the people of public relations if it is an in-house department. So they do get all the benefits and everything. And then, they can understand the company from close quarters. They can understand because on day-to-day basis, they are in touch with the organization. And then it can also, effectively manage bringing out publications or collecting background material within the organization. Is also able to see what's happening on day-to-day basis. It's able to have a record of house journals, annual reports, corporate profiles, documentary film. All this can be actually, they can easily produce them, preserve them, use them for future improvement, and all those things can be done. And they're in a position to coordinate in a better way if it is an internal, internal or in-house PR department. This is one of the important things. Or similarly, when there is a crisis situation, they always are there in a rather elderly way, in an advisory way. They all can do that, and then they can give full-time service because they are committed to the organization, because they are part of the organization. They are enjoying the benefits on par with all the other employees, and all those things can happen in that particular thing. So this is another area where they can think about it. The in-house department helps the team to function effectively. But there are again, at the same time, disadvantages also, because sometimes what happens, quite possible, the head of the PR department may be, aligning with the management, may lose his independent nature, may not be really so autonomous by virtue of his close association with the management, and he tries to agree with everything that the management is saying. If he is agreeing with something good in the interest of the department, in the interest of the many PR objectives and policies, there is no problem. But if he is if he is aligning with someone when that's going to damage the reputation of the organization in general and the PR department in particular, then there is a problem. So the success of, so the merit of the advantage of the in-house department will be when the head of the PR department is independent, is able to take decisions on his own. You should call a spade a spade. Like in Hindi, they say "Doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani." That is one thing which he has to be. Sometimes he has to be very harsh with management. Also, if he is treading a right path, that is very, very important for that. So he cannot afford to be biased. But this happens. One of the disadvantages is sometimes he becomes biased because he tries to take the line of the management. Maybe for various reasons he may himself personally benefit. His personal benefit may not be the benefit of the organization also. So these are all some of the disadvantages. Or sometimes what happens, they may not have varied experience also of handling various areas of PR management. This is something which you should be able to understand. And then another important thing is that if suppose NTPC has a PR department in Hyderabad, it has a PR department in Delhi, it has a PR department in Bombay, then there's every possibility, because the company policy is to transfer the PR people from one place to another place. So at that time, what happens? Suddenly the organization, because of transfer, they have to again readjust to the new person. This person has to go and readjust to the new place. So there is a possibility of the continuity of the implementation of the PR policies and programs in a very, in such a way that it goes unaffected. This is one of the areas where you have to be very careful with regard to the PR department. Some of the disadvantages actually. Then at the same time, sometimes somebody is posted and PR department doesn't do so much work like other departments. Sometimes somebody who is not at all experienced is transferred there because he is not wanted somewhere else. He's transferred there, and this becomes as if it's a punishment department. He comes, an inexperienced person comes, and without any training, without any education, public relations, he just heads the department, and every other work is done by everybody other than himself. So this really a disadvantage. Non-professionals occupying the top post of the PR department. So there is a threat also. There is a danger of this happening. One of the disadvantages of having an in-house department. This is one of the very important areas where we have to be. So it can't present negative areas of company because management may not. PR department wants to be truthful. Quite possible the management may not like it. So when there is a, for instance, when suppose I just give you one small example where I took this example yesterday also about the gas leak in a company. Okay, about the Union Carbide had a gas leak in Bhopal. Recently, Vizag had one company had a gas leak in company. Suppose the gas is leaked and suddenly the image of the company has been affected severely, and there's always, so the PR department wants to inform the public the actual truth of what happened, even if it, even if it is a fault on the part of the company. It wants to tell the truth because it feels that by telling the truth, we can save the image instead of telling a lie. But the management may not like it. No, don't tell that. You don't put our management in trouble and tell that nothing is there. It's not at all our fault. So many fire missions, we always put the blame on short circuit. We all know that. But if a PR officer says that, yes, there was some human negligence, then the management will immediately tell him, no, don't tell that. Tell that there was some short circuit and fire accident. So this is a disadvantage in case of the autonomy of the PR department, the independence of the PR department. And sometimes PR head would say, no, by telling the truth, our image will be enhanced. One theory is that. But the management feels that by telling the truth, we may lose business. Customers may go away. Customers will think, oh God, these people are not capable of doing. So both are in a way correct. But a good approach will be to have a via media approach between the management as well as the PR department. So these are some of the disadvantages, but we have seen that there are many more advantages than disadvantages in case of this particular thing. Now we have another way of running public relations tasks in an organization is by hiring people. Why incurring so much of expenses for PR department, so much of expenditure, so much of setup, so much of running the organization. Can't we spend the same budget by outsourcing? Quite possible, it may be cheaper also. Yes, in government and other places also nowadays, outsourcing has become a very important task. Government also does a lot on outsourcing. Why does the government also do outsourcing? Central government, state government, they're doing a lot of outsourcing because they want to save money on overhead expenditure. So most of the places now, government, both center as well as the state, is having a sort of a contract system, outsource system, and they're able to pay them. Okay, they pay them as per the market rates, and at the same time they're able to get the work done efficiently. They're able to get it done without much problem, because the workers are doing, they don't have job security, they do their work well, and all those things are there. But then they have their own advantages because PR agencies, outside agencies are independent, they're specialized business organizations. So sometimes they don't mind spending. For instance, I can just tell you, let us take in a home trend. These days, one new trend has come where marriages are no more performed by the family members. They just what they do is they arrange event managers, event management, and they hand over most of the responsibilities of performing a marriage, also for instance, to an outside agency. So they take care of everything from day one to day 5 or 6 or 7 days. Entire event management is done by the outside agencies. They don't leave any room for any criticism. Everybody is taken care of happily. Nobody is going without any ill will, grievance or anything. Everything is gone smoothly. Everything has gone professionally. All are happy. So this is something which happens in case of the PR department, in case of hiring a PR agency, because they have special people, they have creative people, they have communication professionals, they know how to handle the clients, and all those things can be thought of, by any. So sometimes what happens, they do have this kind of a situation where they can hire a PR, because some companies think that PR is not a continuous affair. Whenever they need, they can always hire. So, but PR firm is not like an advertising agency. Okay, advertising agency is something else where they charge you the money. Okay, in case of PR, it's an agency, it's not an agency like advertising agency. Okay, advertising procures business with the media, and then you take money from the media and also from the organization which uses it. So a public relations firm is an organized professional body, and in the art and science of public relations. So they do a lot of. So no, the whole thing is that because of the new trends that are happening, the PR in-house department is not able to catch up with the changing trends, with the new challenges being posed by the globalization, or maybe the corporate communication activities are undergoing rapid change because there is a digital technology, everything is changing, social media has come, Twitter has come, WhatsApp has come, Facebook has come, and so many things are happening. And then the in-house department was used to the routine, mainstream, conventional methods of teaching and the conventional methods of using. But now times are changing, things are changing. You'll have to catch up with digital technology, you'll have to catch up with artificial intelligence, you'll have to catch up with machine learning. And now we are going to have even metaverse. So imagine metaverse and other things. So the in-house department may not be really used to these things. They need again a new training. But instead of that, if you hire a professional who has already been in this job for the past 3 years or 4 years, then you will definitely prefer such organization also. So there are what we call as advantages of hiring an outside agency. There are disadvantages, how we have advantages and disadvantages of an internal department. So please remember that we do have lots of relations. So there are two types of public relations firms, mainly. One is they're independently owned and they are managed by a single individual, a group of individuals, or a partnership. Second time is that it is a subsidiary, a holding company. It's a company which may be, like a company only. So it is to serve its clients. So anyone who hires a PR agency is the client for them, and they show them, and then they show their best interest at all times. So such agencies always, depend on what is known as professionalism. So these are all the agencies which they don't have anything to. Sometimes they are very creative. Sometimes their ideas are different. They may have new ideas. They need not worry about the manual. They need not worry about the Lakshman Rekha. Sometimes they can be more risk oriented. They can be more adventurous. But the bottom line is that the company gets a better image. The company is able to be successful. So I can show you some of the important PR agencies in India which handle Indian as well as multinational clients. Okay. Now, for instance, Genesis Public Relations is a very big company. Its clients are very big clients. So BBC World, okay, National Geographic, their clients, and then their PR program is conducted by this organization, PR agency known as Genesis Public Relations. So you can imagine how such a big client is also approaching Genesis Public Relations. So they spend crores of rupees. So the BBC may not have its own PR department in India. Instead of that, it hires a Genesis Public Relations. For instance, an agency, an outside PR agency, they do that. Okay. For instance, there's one another agency known as Good Relations. It's known as Good Relations. Corporate offices in Bombay, branches in New Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata, Chennai. Then their clients are 10 Sports. 10 Sports is a very famous channel. All of you know 10 Sports is a very popular channel in the world. So they hire this agency to take care of all the PR needs, media relations, and everything. So there's one more thing known as Corporate Voice, Chandvik Public Relations, Mumbai, and their clients are CNBC. So like this, so there are many. There is one Ogilvy Public Relations, Ogilvy Advertising is very well known in India. R.K. Swamy, BBDO Chennai, for instance, their clients are that Hill and Knowlton Strategies. So all these people are what is known as the very popular, well-known agencies known as the public relation agencies. So what do they do actually? They provide a variety of services. What do these firms do? What do, like just as how almost the PR department, in-house PR department, these people also carry out what is known as marketing communication, the executive training, research and evaluation, crisis communication, media analysis, community relations, corporate communication, reputation management. Now, there's a new thing where your reputation management is something where reputation is kept standard, if not brought down. So reputation may be enhanced, but it should not be brought down. Reputation management. So if there's any crisis that the time they do, swing in and then try to save the reputation in the event of any unforeseen incidents or circumstances. Similarly, we have events management. So these are all the services done by PR agencies, government relations, and they all also help in maintaining the brand consciousness. Oh, that's the reason, because of this PR agency, the brand consciousness, the brand image is able to be retained by the company actually. So they also have financial relations. They have support for product launches. They also help you in your corporate social responsibility. So on what basis do you appoint a PR agency? Where how will you go about? One procedure is to, always recommendation from reliable source. If somebody may be an expert from media, he can be appointed, for instance, to take care of this. So you do depend on a recommendation of your well-wishers, of people who are really professional. On that basis, you can also appoint PR agencies. For instance, Tata Group have appointed Vaishnavi Corporate Communication, headed by Neera Radia. But Neera Radia became in the news. All of you know she was involved in a scam, in the 2G spectrum scam, and then she was arrested and later removed. So she was removed from Tata. And then obviously Tata then later appointed Rediffusion as an agency to take care of their PR consultancy in 2012. So this is how it happens. This is how things go on in case of PR agency and client relation. So what are the advantages? The PR agency, when you outsource the PR agency, advantages are they do independent service. They have no politics. They have nothing to do with management. They have nothing to do with anybody. They go very professionally. They see the interest of their client. They are not bothered about what's happening. At the same time, they have a very rich experience. They have varied experience. They have seen many clients of different types. Suppose the in-house PR department is there. You only know about your organization, whereas these outside people know about various other organizations also. So they know how to tackle in different circumstances, in different issues. They have a lot of experience in print production, say film or audio visual production. They have an exhibition, institutional advertising, media relations, financial relations, shareholder relations, market research, planning, budgeting, and executing then evaluation of PR programs. They are in a position to. So these are all the advantages of that, and quite possible, if the performance is not satisfactory, you can always terminate. So one of the advantages for you is that if you're not happy with the PR agency that you outsourced or you appointed, and you're not happy with the service, you have in one of the conditions that you're not happy, you can always terminate it, maybe with about a month's notice, this way, that way. Even if that fellow is also not happy with his client, he can also quit. So these are all some of the advantages that you have got. Another important area is disadvantages. In engaging, they do, outside public may have little practical knowledge of the clients. Sometimes they may not be really that practical of what's happening inside the organization. The people inside the organization, the production managers, for instance, they know everything about their company policies, their programs, and everything in the background. But sometimes, as I said earlier in the beginning of this class, I told you also that now a new trend has emerged, where it is not simply having an in-house PR department or just hiring a PR agencies. So we have seen both the types of PR approach, advantages and disadvantages, merits and demerits of outsourcing. Now, what is happening is the new trend is to have an in-house department in some areas where the in-house department is not able to, rise to the occasion, or maybe not able to do something. They can hire that particular event alone outside, and so there is a blend of both in-house and public relations. It's a rich blend. It's a mix of in-house and public relations agencies, PR agencies. This way, you will be in a position to really have a benefits of mixed system. This is what is this mixed system. All of us are now going toward mixed system. Right now, we are able to Right now, we are having. For instance, we have seen because of the changing situation like COVID, what happened. We have now mixed system. We are now having online classes and then offline classes. So we are not going only with online or only with offline because of the changing circumstances, because of the change in scenario. We were now having hybrid of both the online as well as offline. So please remember, going for hybrid is not at all wrong. Maybe it may not be totally right also, but then sometimes it's good so that you are in a position to actually have that kind of a situation where you are in a position to have an in-house department and hire the outsider only for one or two situations when you really need. That's one thing which we will be having. So with this, we'll be able to wind up. We'll again meet next week. I'll have to rush to the other department outside for the other class. So I'm winding up the class right now here only. Okay. So I think we don't have any participants, if I'm correct. Let me see if I have any participants here. So I'm now leaving the meeting. I don't think we have a participant. I'm the only participant here right now, and I'll wind up the show here right now. Okay, thank you.